Now the video that you just saw was nearly impossible to shoot just a couple of years ago. Find out why and how that can help you create your next video. Now for some of you, when you heard me say that, you might have rolled your eyes because you recognize that this was an FPV video, and there are tons of FPV videos in playgrounds. But there were a couple of things in this video that made it a little bit different. And if you're totally new to FPV, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you how you can use FPV in your next video. Now, FPV means first person video because you're using a drone with a camera and you use special goggles to see from the drone's perspective. At first, it might seem that the obvious solution is to use the FPV camera to create your video, but there are a couple of problems with that. First of all, the image quality in these FPV cameras is usually not that good. But the second bigger issue is stabilization. You see, FPV drones are completely manual. FPV pilots rely on the camera's view to determine the drone's angle or attitude. So for example, if you see that the camera's view is below the horizon, then you know that the drone is pitched forward, and that if you increase your throttle, it's going to send the drone forward. Imagine if you had stabilization in the FPV camera, then you'd have a difficult time determining what was the pitch or roll of your quad. And that's why FPV pilots generally don't have stabilization in their FPV camera. Now, that's a problem for cinematic video because when you're shooting cinematically, stabilization is almost a requirement. So what do FPV pilots do when they shoot cinematically? FPV pilots typically use GoPros on their quads. GoPros have amazing stabilization and the image quality is usually pretty good. Good enough for professional use in most cases. Now, GoPros are a lot more compact than most cameras, but they still weigh 120 grams or more. The Hero 9, for example, weighs almost 160 grams. And while that might not sound like a lot, for a drone, that is a lot of extra weight. So you need a drone that's powerful enough to carry the GoPro. Now, in most cases, that means using a quad with prop size of 3 inches or larger. Now, there are a lot of quads of that size or even larger, but it creates a new problem. See, there's one thing that can make cinematic FPV videos more exciting. Gaps. The smaller the gap, the more excitement it adds to the video. Now, and quads like this are too large to fly through small gaps. To fly through small gaps, you need smaller quads like this. Now, the problem with these smaller quads is that they struggle with the weight of a full-size GoPro. And that's where the Insta360 Go 2 comes in. The Go 2 is much smaller and lighter than most action cams. It weighs only 30 grams and it has amazing stabilization. Now, of course, the Insta360 Go 2 is not the only lightweight option. There are also so-called naked GoPros. So this, for example, is a stripped down GoPro Hero 6. So I took it apart and put it into this smaller case. Naked action cams like this GoPro Hero 6 or this Insta360 SMO are almost the same weight as the Go 2. They're about 30 grams or even less. But one important advantage of the Go 2 is the extra wide field of view. That means that you have unlimited horizon leveling. It could be upside down and the horizon will still appear level. More importantly, another advantage is that you can keyframe it. You can actually make it point slightly up or down or left or right. So in this video, for example, as I was flying down the steps, I wanted to show those steps. So I aimed the view downward. Now that's something that's very difficult to do on a regular GoPro. So you would have to aim the quad this way to look downward, and when you're pitched that far forward, then your quad's going to be zooming forward really fast, which would be inappropriate for a cinematic video like this. and that's why I chose the Insta360 Go 2 for this video. Now, do you want to make videos like the one you just saw? Well, I've got good news and bad news. First, the good news. If you're watching this channel, then chances are you're already into 360 cameras, and 360 cameras are amazing for FPV. Now, the bad news is that learning FPV can be complicated and difficult. But I'm going to create a video series on this channel where you can learn how to fly FPV in the simplest way possible. If you want to learn how, hit subscribe and I'll see you in FPV.